What's going on, YouTube? Today I'll be sharing Neville's simple manifestation technique, and it all boils down to 3 steps. Step 1. Bring yourself a state akin to sleep. Now, simply, all that means is relax your mind to a point of calm and stillness. This can be very difficult to do for the average person because our minds are always constantly running and churning out new thoughts. We're always stuck in the future or the past, ruminating and contemplating. So what Neville recommends is lay down or sit very comfortably and relax yourself. One of the approaches to relaxation that he talks about in some of his work is simply revisiting the events of your day. So starting with the very last thing you did, reenact it in your imagination and go backwards. Revise your entire day chronologically backwards till your mind settles down. There are plenty of other ways to settle your mind. For instance, in the branch of chaos magic, they call it a state of gnosis. It roughly translates to a state of no mind or blank mind. Inducing a state of gnosis is essentially the same thing that Neville is recommending. There are different ways to reach the state. One method of reaching gnosis would be the one we discussed earlier, Neville's technique of inducing a state akin to sleep. Another would be through meditation. You could also employ deep breathing exercises to induce a state of gnosis. We'll cover all these different methods of entering a state of gnosis in a future show. But for the time being, let's stick to what Neville recommends. Now, for step 2. Now, step 2 actually gets bifurcated. So there's 2 possible paths you can take with this step. The first one is imagine, and now this is important, you must do the visualization in first person. So just to make sure we're all on the same page, when you're visualizing something in first person, you see all the imagery through your own eyes. So for instance, when you're dreaming, you don't see yourself outside of your own body. You see everything around you through your own eyes. Same thing with this visualization. When you're imagining, imagine from your own perspective. Imagine a scene from the end state. So for instance, let's say you would like a raise at work. A scene from the end state might be you're shaking hands with your boss, or you go home and you tell your family, or you're holding your new paycheck in your hand and you see the new pay bump on your check. Keep it to something simple, and most importantly, visualize this in first person. Now, if you find visualization or imagining too difficult, there's another approach. You could simply use words of repetition, an expression that embodies something you would say in the end state. So for instance, let's say you wanted that salary raise. What would you say to yourself if that were to happen? Perhaps something along the lines of, "This is incredible," or "I am so grateful," or perhaps, "This is wonderful." The expression is solely up to you. But regardless of whether you choose the visualization or the repetition of words, the single most important thing for this exercise is summoning the feeling of the wish being fulfilled. So in that end state, as you're playing out that scenario, or as you're repeating those words, how would you truly feel if you already had your end state? What kind of joy or elation would you feel? Summon that feeling of the wish fulfilled. That is the single most important thing for this exercise to work. And if you find it difficult to have a reference point, well, think about of an event in the past that caused you extreme joy and ecstasy. Reminisce on that and summon that same exact feeling for your desired state. Now, for the third and final step, go on with your day. It sounds very simple, but sometimes it's not. The thing to do here is go on with your day knowing in full faith that that which you desire is already accomplished. So There's no need to tinker with or worry about how it will come about because it's already done. As a matter of fact, the same way you know that the sun is out there, you know for a fact that that which you desire is already accomplished. Even if there's no evidence of the end state in your sensory experience, occupy a state of mind that implies the end state is already fulfilled. Sometimes knowledge in itself is completely useless. You're going to have to take what we learned from Neville's technique and apply it and experiment with it yourself. The only way you can prove or disprove that this actually works is by playing around with this. If this is your first time tinkering around with such exercises, I recommend keeping it very simple. So when you go to the gym, you start off small. Maybe you bench the bar itself and that's it. Same with this. Maybe try to manifest a simple cup of coffee or a free lunch or maybe a pair of socks. Whatever it is, if you're just starting out, keep it small and then work your way up. It's similar to like going to the gym. When you first go to the gym and you start lifting weights, you don't go on the bench press and start trying to bench 500 pounds. You're gonna hurt yourself. In this case, you may not hurt yourself with the exercise, but you won't get any progress. After you manifest one or two things, you can incrementally level yourself up and go for bigger and wilder experiences or things. Don't worry too much about why it works. For instance, I'm not exactly sure how I hear. I'm not sure what happens when the sound vibrations go through my eardrum and what happens in my brain. But I do know that I can hear and I can share the things that I hear. Same thing with manifestation. I'm not quite sure on how it works. Perhaps manifestation could just simply be invoking a self-fulfilling prophecy. Or it might work because this waking life is, a matter of fact, just a dream. But regardless of the why, I do know it works and that I can share instances where it's worked. So in our next show, we'll be covering personal case studies on people that I know who have used Neville's technique to much success. Have fun manifesting away.